Evam dastari viprichattam Yadalabasi megako Adivonide Vishatvam Aratitam Abuddivi Megako Enorava Adivonide Evam Sari Trishyattam Aropitam Abuddivi. That's pretty good. Maybe we can go online. Yeah?
Yes.
We don't
Yata Nabasi me go Renu Pastimonile
Okay.
Evam Drashri
Anyone?
Drishatma
Online.
Yata Nabasi me go
Yes, that we need this, right?
Oh,
So we should well, sometime when we forget to bring their own device. Sometime when we forget or not always practical. Yata, as it is, Navasi in the sky, Mega Oga, open, a mass of clouds, Renu, dust, Va, as well as, Parativaha, muddiness, Anile, in the air, Evam, dust, Drastari, to the seer, Drishyapam, for the purpose of seeing, Aropitam is implied, Abuddhibihi, by the less intelligent persons. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Clouds and dust are carried by the air, but less intelligent persons say that the sky is cloudy and the air is dirty. Similarly, they also implant material bodily conceptions on the spirit self. Please repeat, the clouds and dust are carried by the air, but the less intelligent persons say that the sky is cloudy and the air is dirty. Similarly, they also implant material bodily conceptions on the spirit self. Purport, it is further confirmed herein that with our material eyes and senses, we cannot see the Lord, who is all spirit. We cannot even detect the spiritual spark which exists within the material body of the living being. We look to the outward covering of the body or subtle mind of the living being, but we cannot see the spiritual spark within the body. So we have to accept the living being's presence by the presence of his gross body. Similarly, those who want to see the Lord with their present material eyes or with the material senses are advised to meditate on the gigantic external feature called the Virat Rupa. For instance, when a particular gentleman goes in his car, which can be seen very easily, We identify the car with the man within the car. When the president goes out in his particular car, we say, there is the president. For the time being, we identify the car with the president. Similarly, less intelligent men who want to see God immediately without necessary qualification are shown first the gigantic material cosmos as the form of the Lord, although the Lord is within and without. The clouds in the sky and the blue of the sky are better appreciated in this connection. Although the bluish tint of the sky and the sky itself are different, we conceive of the color of the sky as blue, but that is a general conception of the layman only. Om Yalapimirandasya Yalanjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Meditam Dena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yada Bhutale Swayam Urupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarachatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Sajivam Sarvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Visnakamvitam Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakarpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityana Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurava Vacharini Nirvishesha Srinavadi Paschyatam Deshatami Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 1 Chapter 3 Verse 31 Yatta Labasi Me Gogo Renorva Paritivo Nide Evam Drastari Drishyatvam Aropitam Abhuddhibihi. Clouds and dust are carried by the air, but less intelligent persons say that the sky is cloudy and the air is dirty. Similarly, they also implant material body conceptions on the spirit itself. So this is not a standalone verse. Some verses are quite obvious by themselves. Some are associated with other verses. This one is obviously intimately associated with the previous one, text 30, which read, the conception of the Virat universal form of the Lord as appearing in the material world is imaginary. It is to enable the less intelligent and neophytes to adjust to the idea of the Lord's having form. But factually, the Lord has no material form. So this is associated with this verse. Here we're continuing the same idea, the same subject that was discussed in text 30, namely the universal form, the Virat Rupa of the Lord. And I was saying before starting the class that this is very esoteric. Some are very beautiful, some verses. This one is more dry, a little bit, kind of a verse, and harder to discuss. It's very, very abstract concept. Srila Prabhupada is making a brilliant expression of it for us to really understand. If you just look at the Sanskrit itself, it's not so obvious. We couldn't understand if you really need someone who is self-realized soul, acharya, in disciplic succession, someone who is not just pretending to be a devotee, but actually an accomplished devotee of the Lord to give us this translation. See, in the Sanskrit, we don't have the word Atma or this idea of conception, of this false conception. It's not discussed. What is interesting is the word here in the translation, word for word translation, aropitam. This is a word, the verse about aropitam, that the concept is implied. We have to really use our intelligence to really understand what is meant here. Because just by the Sanskrit, we would be at a loss for really understanding what is being discussed here. So it's not made obvious. In other words, it's not obvious what is discussed here. It is more understandable when we reference it in the previous verse. That for the beginner in spiritual life, although someone is interested in knowing God, going beyond the day-to-day life of just finding ways to maintain the body, someone who start thinking, a Muni, someone of the mind, that his mind is working with critical thinking, not just superficially living his life, but trying to go deeper into the meaning of life. Why am I alive? Why is this existence? There must be someone who is feeling an inkling that there's something beyond just the everyday mundane life. We'll start by asking some questions. So here we're discussing such a person that is a neophyte, a beginner, or is intelligence. One should not be put off by one Srila Prabhupada says less intelligence. It's just the intelligence that's not yet fully developed. Like we don't call the kid stupid. It's a very, very bad thing to do actually. If you have children, to say they are idiots or stupid, it will traumatize them. So it's not said in that way. A child can be very intelligent, but because his intelligence actually is not fully developed, it will develop. It takes quite many years for intelligence actually to develop all the neurons to make all the necessary connection. So it's not to put down, you don't put down a child because he doesn't know certain things. He's beginning with life. So he is less intelligent in that sense, but not in a pejorative way. It's not that we want to put down somebody because they're less intelligent. So the same way, when you're starting in spiritual life, you're like a baby, spiritual baby. You can be 25 years old, but you're still like a kid, little baby. Spiritually, you're a baby. So in that sense, you're less intelligent compared to the self-realized soul, compared to the position you're aiming to attain. So because our experience is with form, and forms are material, and Krishna, a God, because we don't know yet that Krishna is God. So the tendency is to consider that God, this concept of God, should be immaterial. Right? It's immaterial, and it is form. It's like a mathematical equation. Material equals form. So spiritual equals no form. So we come to this conclusion, we make this conclusion, which seems logical at first and kind of acceptable. If form is material, so spiritual, which is transcendental to material, the form should not be there. So we make this conclusion then that God is impersonal. But this is not the case. It is a case, it is the fact, God is impersonal. Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavan, Iti Shabdyati. So it's one of the concepts of the absolute truth that God is impersonal, but it doesn't stop. You can go further. You can dig a little further and see that there's more to it than this. So here, to help those who have difficulty conceiving of God as having a form. So God doesn't have a material form. Our eyes are material eyes. We cannot see spiritual form, we see material form. So to help bring us on the bodily concept of life, bring us closer to a spiritual concept. So in the interim, there is this concept that of the Virat Rupa. This Virat Rupa is called imaginary. So it's not really, it's like an illusion, an hallucination of some sort. It is not really factual that God is the material world. In a sense, he is, because that's his energy, the expansion from him. But him fully, no. He is inside the material world. Yes, he is inside as the soul and the Vishnu expansion, the Vishnu avatar. So he is the soul of the universe and in every atom to make everything tangible for us, everything working. And he's also inside our hearts to assist us, to guide us as our conscience. So we cannot be disassociated from God, but Maya is illusory potency is so strong that we feel in our neophyte condition separated from God. So to help us, we can see what we can see of the material creation and equate it with an aspect of God called the Virat Rupa. So it's to help us, bring us closer and closer to understand God, because it's a very difficult subject matter. The science of God is the greatest science. And since we're conditioned, we've been conditioned for so many lifetimes, embedded in this matter. So it's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to do. We will need to have a very systematic way of reviving our lost consciousness, our Krishna consciousness. So that's what the Krishna consciousness movement is teaching the world. We have this process, elaborate process. We offer our food. We transform it into something spiritual. Although it is material, it nourishes us. But because it is imbued with love and devotion toward God, then it will purify us. So this is one aspect. Another aspect is, like today, we're reciting the Sanskrit. Sanskrit is a pure language. It's the scripture, the Holy Scripture. So to vibrate the sound, we make progress. We have the Maha Mantra propagated by Lord Chaitanya and brought to the West by Srila Prabhupada. So this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is also subtle energy, pure spiritual energy, very up there, very, very subtle. So it purifies the subtle minds. So we have this process to progress spiritually. So here it is discussed that those who are beginning spiritually, they may have this concept that God has no form, but he has a spiritual form. So to bring this concept that there might be still, it can still be a fact that God as a form, although it is spiritual. We start by and to have more of a tangible access to this concept of God. So we should see the material creation as an aspect of God. Example, it is elaborately described in the Bhagavatam. Like the plants are considered the air on his body, the clouds in the sky, the air on his head, the sun and the moon are his eyes, the mountains are his bones. Here I have a protruding bone here. Think about the bones of God. You can see the mountain that's the same way. Like the Rockies, you can drive to the Rockies and then you see the mountain and you can be reminded of God. Right? So that's his bone, the bone of the universal form. Right? And in the Bhagavad Gita also, it tells many things about himself. I am the sound in ether, right? The taste in water. There are so many ways that we can focus on things that we can perceive with our material senses, with our eyes. In our everyday life, we can take inspiration from the scripture, so we are reminded of God. So, but as devotees, we should go further. Then more is given. When you accept this, then more is given to you. Then you can learn that God is actually a person, beautiful person. It didn't start from here. Here's the reflection. It's not like the spiritual world is the reflection from here, but it's the opposite. Here is the reflection of the spiritual world. So it starts with God being a person. Then He creates us in His own image. Then we are a person. From this concept, the first concept, the first ultimate concept, the purest concept is spiritual world. So we should take this, what we know in this world, this mundane world, as a reference point to judge what is spiritual and not spiritual. Right? We have to go, since we don't know, we have to go to the scripture, we have to go to the spiritual master, the one who knows by realization, by deep realization, what the truth is. This is the reference point. The scriptures, the spiritual world. This is the actual reference point. This is the origin. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita is the origin of everything. Is the source of everything. So it starts from Him. We cannot question that how God can be a person. It starts with Him being a person. So today we're discussing that the sky, okay, less intelligence, or just as a matter of to be in conversation, to be practical, how we talk. We talk like this, oh, the air smells bad, or just for the to be practical in everyday discussion, we speak like this, that the sky is cloudy. We say that, or the air is dirty. We might say like this, there's some dust. It could, polluted. But spiritually speaking, it is called abuddhi. Buddhi, it is intelligence. So we should understand that those elements are pure by themselves. They are distinct. There's space, there's air. They don't mix. We have to understand their integrity and their purity. It's not easy to discuss this. So like in South America, for example, they have plants are actually nourished by sands from the Sahara. Did you know that? Sand, yes. Minerals from the Sahara Desert make all the way, they fly. There's a big dust storm in Africa, right? And it goes really, really high, 40,000 feet high up, and it gets pushed by the wind all the way to South America. Tons and tons of sand land in South America and nourish the plants. Amazing, isn't it? When we speak with little particles of saliva flies from our mouth. Pollen floats in the air. Now in India, it is so sad, like a place like Vrindavan, so much construction. Prayers, there's an album by Andhra Prabhu. Prayers to the dust of Raja. Now it has become the dust of cement dust. Lots of cement dust in Vrindavan. And also there's so many industries around, like Delhi. So many big manufacturing plants out there. They pollute the air. So the air is very much polluted. I think Delhi is the most polluted city in the world, something like this. So many things are floating in the air, but the air itself, the concept of the air, atmospheric air, it doesn't really mix. The air is there as a basic element, one of the Maha Panchabhuta. So the air is always what it is. Right? You can mix something else with it. But on the molecular level, it is unchanged. There's no chemical transformation. So this is to bring the concept that there is the spirit inside matter. So here it also applies to us. We're talking about the Supreme Spirit inside the material world. Okay. Krishna as the universal form, but it's imaginary. It is not a fact that God is only this universe. Okay. So it is also not a fact that us, made out of matter, that we are only matter, that our self, which is spirit, is this physical form. Although we're inside, still this matter, still there is our purity, that the soul is not transformed by this matter, is not touched in a way that it. See, it's very, very subtle, because we can sense something, right? We can touch something and then we can sense. So this is because of the presence of the soul. The soul will expand its consciousness, right, through the physical senses. So it is very easy to understand that, to be confused about our real identity. It is very easy to be confused, and that's what's taking place for most people. That there is, because the way things are set up, we will feel that we are this body. We can be forgiven to be misled like this. We think we are this body because through our senses. But in fact, the real person is the soul. So this is, we have to really ponder upon it carefully. Like the blue of the sky here. This is, from our point of view, the sky is blue. The sky is not really blue as such, it's just the way, because the blue spectrum of the sunlight diffuses most in this medium, so it appears to us as blue. You see, we say the sky is blue, but the sky is not really blue. The sky is the sky itself. And speaking of the sky, atmospheric air. Atmospheric air is mostly composed of nitrogen. And not elemental nitrogen, but molecular nitrogen, which means N2. We have two atoms of nitrogen linked together. So can anybody tell me, and there's only about 21% oxygen, so can anybody tell me why God, as the supreme designer, the supreme architect of the universe, why did he devise, why did he design it to be this way? Why not put more oxygen? Why not put 98% oxygen? Can anyone tell me? Because if you have, let's say you have 98% oxygen, it would be terrible, terrible. It would be good for us. We could breathe, but I don't think there would be a civilization, because think about a spark of forest fire. What would happen after a forest fire? It is 98% oxygen. What do you think would happen? It would burn so brightly, so fast, it would be just incredible. So if you analyze, why am I talking about chemistry today? Because through chemistry, to anything of this material world, anything, if you really think about it carefully, with critical thinking, not just studying and that's going on in the school system and just memorizing and regurgitating and killing your creativity, you're not going to think like this. But through creative thinking, critical thinking, okay, you analyze and you see everything was very, very fine-tuned, highly thought upon to create something very, very specific, down to the millimeter, fraction of a millimeter. Everything is fraction of a percentage point. Everything is super, super precise. Like the pH of our blood, for example, it cannot vary much. Less than 1% is very, very precise, the pH of the blood. If it varies a little bit, you're dead. Same thing, okay, chemistry of the air we breathe, atmospheric air. It is finely tuned to 21% oxygen, mostly nitrogen. And why nitrogen? Why did God decide, the great designer, why did he decide to put nitrogen? You don't know. Because nitrogen is very, very stable. It's called inert gas. Inert gas. Some gas are very highly reactive, like oxygen. It's a very highly reactive gas. Nitrogen is very, very difficult, chemically speaking, to transform nitrogen into something else. You see, just by studying just this one word, annihilate. So there's two words, annihilate also, interesting, something interesting. The word is actually annihilate. So why is it annihilate? Can you tell me? Why not say, why the speaker did not say annihilate? Annihilate when he says annihilate. And why did he say nabas? Didn't he say nabasa and he said nabasi? Why did he say nabasi and why did he say annihilate? Can anybody tell me? Because those words are in the locative, a location, a this place. And Prabhupada says it in the word for word, if you paid attention. Nabasi in the sky, Anile in the air. So to bring our mind there, that this is what we're talking about. In there is this other things. Rain, dust, partiva, muddiness. It's an interesting word. Why is it just partiva? I took a few notes. So another little question to see if my audience is listening. Oftentimes there's a verse of the Bhagavatam that refers to a verse of the Bhagavad Gita. So can anyone tell me what verse of the Bhagavad Gita this is referring to? Something similar in the Bhagavad Gita. No, a specific verse.
Just like the air carries the aroma.
7th chapter, verse 4. Bhumirapo naro vayu kammano buddhirevacha ahankara iti yanmi vina prakariti astada. Why am I saying this? Partivo nile. Partivo nile. And in Bhagavad Gita, Bhumir apo nila. Say, Bhumi apa anala. So who is the friend of the wind? Who is the friend of the wind? The wind is a friend. Here the wind is called Anila. So who is the friend of Anila? I just said it. The friend of Anila is Anala. Huh? You didn't know that? The friend of Anila is Anala. Who is the brother? Who is the sister? Who is the sister of Yama? Huh? Who is that? Yes, Yami. Who is the brother, sister of Yama? It's Yami. So who is the friend of Anila? Is Anala. Anala is fire. Bhumir, Apa is water. Anala, fire. So this is the concept described here today, that although we're residing in this material body, that doesn't mean we're of matter. And also, it means that as the air is always air, it doesn't lose its integrity. It is not really polluted. We speak like this for all practicality, but if we're more strict, like the strictness of the spiritual seeker in analyzing life. So is presenting this strictness of thought that the air is not polluted. Air is by itself, and there's something that might be floating in it. That's something different. It is not affecting the chemical composition of the air itself. There's nitrogen, there's oxygen, argon, a few other gases. There's water vapor, about 1% water vapor. And we can think that air is very light, but actually 1 cubic meter of air weighs 1.2 kilograms. On our skin, there's 14.7 pounds per square inch pressure here at sea level, pushing on us. Every square inch of our skin, there's 14 pounds. Imagine if we were in a vacuum and all of think about a column of air above us, it would be crushed like this, like a pancake. But because it's pressuring, and that's why if you go into higher atmosphere, they have to compress the air in an airplane. Right? It's compressed because this atmospheric pressure at 30,000 feet is much, much less than now. And if you were to expose yourself, like in outer space, let's say 200,000-300,000 feet, you would start inflating. Your blood would boil. So this is our reality. Yes. No, he cannot die. Yeah. No, it's the same thing. It's just the consciousness, the soul is a stream, a continuous stream of consciousness. Right, it is. Yeah, a symptom of the soul is consciousness, definitely is. Yeah, you feel it because you're trapped in this body. This is your imprisonment. This is imprisonment for the time being until you depart from this body and go to another one. No, you still have to suffer in some ways because that's the deal. You wanted to come here, so it's part of the contract. You want to have a mature body to enjoy, but the fine print says you may also be liable to suffer. Actually, as a matter of fact, it is. It will give you much more suffering than enjoyment. But the big print to entice you to go for it is be able to enjoy. Oh, limited time. Lots of suffering and fun print.